Hey, I'm Iris, and today I'm going to be giving you 10 movies that you can watch right now on Netflix. There are going to be a ton of different genres, including Bollywood, so stick around and let me know if you've seen any of these ones. My first recommendation is Okja. This is a Bong Joon-ho film. He did Parasite and Snowpiercer. Those are his more well-known films, at least in the United States. I've seen Okja like 3 or 4 times, and it deals with topics like environmentalism and greenwashing, and it's got this like absolutely kick-ass 14-year-old protagonist girl, and it's just awesome. It's sort of an adventure film as well. It's just like great, and it's got so many just beautiful landscapes. It's a beautiful movie. My second recommendation is The Bling Ring. This is a Sofia Coppola film. Coppola, I don't know how to pronounce her name. She did Marie Antoinette, which is one of my favorite movies. If you haven't seen that, it's not on Netflix, but it is a great one. She has a super spunky filmmaking style. This movie has Emma Watson playing a valley girl and sort of a non-linear timeline that's just really fun to watch. Also a bunch of kids robbing rich people, so. My third recommendation is The New Romantic. This is a really sweet movie. It's about a college girl who decides to become a sugar baby for the sake of journalism. She wants to get this grant, so she's writing a story on what it's like to be a sugar baby. I don't want to spoil too much, but basically this movie kind of goes into different types of love languages and like transactional love. I've seen it twice, I think, and I just really like it. I don't really know why. It's very kind of indie film-esque, but it's really good. My fourth recommendation is Zodiac. This is a movie about the Zodiac killer through the perspective of this obsessed journalist. I watched this movie by myself super late at night, and I was a little terrified. It's sort of a thriller suspense film. There's this one scene that just like had me like, oh my god, it really like places you into the emotional experience of the journalist, which I think is really cool. If you're into true crime stuff, this is a must-see. Definitely. It's fantastic. My fifth recommendation is I Am Mother. This is a sci-fi future film kind of set post-singularity. If you don't know what the singularity is, it's like when the robots take over. It's basically about this girl who grows up in isolation with this robot caring for her as her mother. And then she slowly starts to sort of uncover things, and her world kind of crumbles apart, and she sees what's really going on. And it's super intense, and it's just a great sci-fi movie and powerful female characters. I think there are literally no men in the movie. Maybe there's one. I cannot remember. My sixth recommendation is Tao. This is such a cool one. It's also kind of sci-fi robot centric. It's also got this wonderful like neon color scheme that's just visually striking and phenomenal. It kind of gives off to me Ex Machina vibes, which is also on Netflix and also a good movie, even though I have mixed feelings about it. It's about this woman who gets kidnapped, and she's trying to escape this robot who is holding her in like this super fancy loft apartment. That's kind of the general gist. You'll understand more if you watch it, but it's really good. Both of those two movies are about like young women escaping robots, so I guess that's what I like. My seventh recommendation is Train to Busan. This is a Korean horror film. I get scared so easily when I'm watching horror movies, even though like the plots tend to interest me a lot, but this one is like super good out of all of the horror movies I've seen. This is the one like zombie film that I've liked, and I think it's worth watching, honestly. It's got characters and a plot that is worth investing in, and dare I say, a happy ending, which is something I can appreciate. My eighth recommendation, while it's still on there, is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is an animated Spider-Man movie. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it already. If you haven't seen it yet because you're like, I don't know, it's animated, watch it. I swear to God. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so I'm a little biased. But I think Spider-Man became my favorite superhero after having seen this film. So it's beautiful. The animation style is super interesting and super different. It's got a comic book aesthetic and an interesting story. And the soundtrack is awesome. It's completely written for the movie, but the soundtrack includes a lot of songs written by artists like Post Malone, so it's really modern and really immersive. I have a whole thing about the soundtrack, but it's just good, so watch it please. If you're into animated movies, or even if you're not, it's one that you should not miss. My 9th movie is Set It Up. This is a rom-com, and I really like rom-coms, and I'm not embarrassed about that. In fact, the idea of being embarrassed about something like a rom-com it kind of comes from this idea that things that women and young women like aren't really worth them liking it, if that makes sense. Like, people will make fun of girls for liking rom-coms or pop music or doing makeup or fashion or stuff like that when it's like genuine interests, but since girls like it, it's like seen as not worth it or whatever. Anyway, that's the whole side rant. Do not be shy about your movie taste, because if someone is like making fun of you for it, it's a them problem, not a you problem. This is a really fun movie. It's about these two people who work in the same building who are completely overworked by their bosses and are trying to get their bosses to fall in love so that they can get some time off. And it really just like hits the spot in terms of rom-coms, and it's starring Zoe Deutsch, who is so cute. So I really like this one. If you are into rom-coms, it's definitely one that's fun and not like very bad, you know, because there are a lot of bad rom-coms. My 10th and final recommendation in this video is Lagaan. This is a 3-hour and 43-minute Bollywood movie. You heard me, it is almost 4 hours long. Part of watching this movie is being able to say that you've sat through a movie that long, but also it's pretty good. It's basically about this Indian village that is battling British colonizers in a cricket match, and there is a ton of other stuff happening as well. It's almost 4 hours long, so of course there's other stuff happening, but it's really cool, and it's got these big Bollywood musical numbers, and it's worth watching. I'm someone who always prefers to watch a movie in one sitting, just like straight through, because interrupting it kind of tends to like mess with the pacing and the feelings that you are absorbing, you know, the emotional journey. But honestly, this one, the first time I watched it in like 50-minute chunks, and then the second time I watched it, I tried to watch it in one sitting, and it was a struggle. So keep that in mind. That's it for my Netflix movie recommendations. Wait, I'm gonna take a second and talk about what's happening in Minnesota right now. A black man named George Floyd was murdered by a cop who knew him for 17 years. This cop was given paid leave for murdering an unarmed black man. A video of this event has been going around the internet, but I want to stress that especially at this point, it's not really respectful to be sharing the video of this man's murder. There are other ways to share his story, so keep that in mind. This event has sparked rioting and protests in Minnesota as well as New York, and now Houston, I think, is being organized at the time of me filming this. Police are reacting violently and arresting people en masse. I will link a relief fund for bailouts called the Minnesota Freedom Fund in the description, because that is one of the best ways that you can help remotely, and I'll probably have a few other resources down below as well. Also, it's really important to make sure that you're not sharing videos of protesters with their faces visible. This is how people get arrested, and this is how people have been murdered in the past. We've seen that with several participants in the Ferguson riots, that they were later found murdered. I'm sorry if you are not expecting the badness of the world right now in this video, but it can't really be ignored, and I want to talk about it. Back to filming hours. I am currently studying film, and I might have put that in the title. I might not have. I might just be saying this at the end. Who knows? But I want to stress that no one is more qualified than anybody else to like movies or think that they're good. You know, everyone has different tastes, and there's no problem with that. I chose ones that I thought might be kind of generally appreciable, even if you've like seen a lot of movies and are into like examining form and structure and stuff like that. I think that they're interesting and they kind of like hold up under like analysis. But I also wanted to include some stuff that was just like kind of comfort films and movies that are fun to watch. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any recommendations for me, or if you've seen any of these movies. I would love to hear. I'm constantly watching new stuff, and if you would like another video like this, whether it's for TV series or movies on like Amazon or something like that, I am also totally down to do that. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.